Welcome back to It's Interesting, the world of. In this fourth episode, what I'm going to be talking about is a couple of things. Specifically, I'm going to talk about some sports, moreover, the Olympics, and a little bit of MLB spring training. And then I'm going to talk to Renata about Gaunt and her time in it and if she liked it or not. And then the other part, we're going to talk to Ricardo about more mortgages. And finally, we're going to talk to Alberto about the terms of statistics. This is going to be a fun episode. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. And legal notice, these are everyone's own opinions. So if you want to do the research on your own. Welcome back to It's Interesting, the world of sports. And I am still your host, Jordi Arrioja Palacios, and I'm going to talk about a couple of things today. Today I'm going to talk about the Olympics and MLB spring training. Let's start off with the Olympics first, specifically the women's ice hockey games. The first game we had was the bronze medal game in between Switzerland and Sweden to see who would win bronze. Switzerland ended up winning that game 2-0, which props to you, Switzerland. But now onto the gold medal game between the two rivalries of the world, or the two best rivalries in the world for women's hockey. That being Canada and the United States. Early in the period, both teams were early in the first period, no one could score. But man, there were so many chances where both teams had the chance to score. And Abby Murphy, oh my God. There were multiple times where it's like she's like that pest. It's like the Brad Marchand. Brad Marchand, I haven't seen her score, but I know she can score. She can score goals. The first period, nothing really happened, as in like no goals. Second period, with the United States on a power play, Canada scored a shorthanded goal to make it 1-0. And then going into the third period, all Canada had to do was just hold on to that lead. But with a minute remaining left in the game, Hillary Knight tipped in a shot by a United States player, which went in the net and tied the game. Eventually, the game went into overtime, and Canada had chances to win that game, but the United States won. They scored a goal, 2-1. So that means at the end, Canada got a silver, and the United States got a gold, which... we had them, my God. We had them. It's just, if we just held on to that lead, who knows, man? Who knows? But that's in the what-if scenario. Tomorrow, though, I'm a little bit more optimistic about tomorrow, as we got two games tomorrow for the men's hockey, ice hockey to be exact. The first game is gonna be Canada versus Finland, and I don't know if you saw that game between Canada and Czechia. But man, Czechia kind of showed the countries of who's in the tournament to win the gold medal. They showed how to beat Canada, and it's quite simple. If you want to beat Canada, pressure them. That's what we've been doing, and well, most importantly, if Canada is kind of like in the cockiness era, you're more likely to beat Canada. Now, fortunately, though, Mitch Marner did score the overtime winner to beat Czechia, which supposedly exorcised the demons out because Canada, for some reason, Czechia has been Canada's kryptonite, as we've seen it in the World Junior Championship games last year and the year before, where we did not make it to the gold medal game of that tournament. Czechia would always beat us. But this time, we exorcised the demons, and we beat them 4-3. Now, there was a bit of controversy after the game because the Czech Republic, or the Czechia head coach, said that the referees, they were kind of giving Canada a bit of a favor. Now, in his defense, it did look like that, but if you look to Ondrej Palat's third goal, or the third goal of Czechia, Ondrej Palat scored, there were too many men for Czechia, and the referees in Canada didn't even question it. But now they're questioning the fact that the referees helped Canada, even though both teams say that if they were both like there were two goals for Czechia and Canada that were both too many men, oh, the game would have gone 2-1, either Czechia or Canada. I could see Canada still winning that game. But that was insane. Really, really insane. And oh yeah, we had the United States take on Sweden in the other matchup, in which the United States, they were winning that game. Dylan Larkin scored that first goal for the USA. And then literally just with like 1 minute or like 2 minutes left to go in the third period, Mika Sabanachak, he tied the game up when we headed into overtime. 3-on-3, 10 minutes, and where Quinn Hughes got that game winner, setting up tomorrow's match for 1 p.m. against Slovenia, in which also I'm going to talk about Slovenia. They did beat Germany 5-1. Yeah, Leon Draisaitl, what happened, man? Also, Tim Stützle, he did show up. That's important. And then, so right now, if we go on to the medal table, as we can see, or as I will tell you, Norway is just dominating the countries. They have 34 medals in total. They have the most medals out of any country right now, with 16. 16! And then the United States with 9, and Italy with 9, and then France with 6. However, if you look at Canada, we have 4, 5, 6, which makes us 15th. Which, according to like the medal table, we are 11th. Although we should technically be, say, 9th, because the medal table, it goes off of how many countries have who has the most golds. In which, as you can see, or as you can hear me say, Canada only has 4 gold medals. And mind you, this was the Olympics that we had 205 competitors. When the Olympic opening ceremony was on last time, they said on CBC, the last time Canada had 205 competitors, we had the most gold medals in ever for our country. Mind you, that was in Vancouver, and that was when we had the Canadian men and women winning ice hockey, and for both countries winning gold medal. That was take me back. Take me back. On other news, though, Team Canada, for both men and women, for curling, they both beat their competitors. And now, from what it looks like, Team Canada for men's, they're taking on Great Britain for the semifinals to see if they can go to the gold medal game or they will go to the bronze medal game. Although checking on some other sports that happened today, I will tell you, in the ski mountaineering, France actually EWAP 3 hours and 3 minutes. That's pretty impressive. The second place was Poller with 3 hours and 11 minutes, which that's also impressive for ski mountaineering. If you wonder, there weren't really any Canadians that were in this, although we did have some Spanish people and some Italian people, but yeah, from what I'm looking, there were no Canadians in ski mountaineering, which that's kind of sad, because I want to see some. Although, on to figure skating, we had an American win with a total of 226.79 points. That's impressive. This is in the figure skating. I believe this is for women's, in which Canada did not qualify for the medal at all. Which, oh boy, we gotta fix our skating programs. But I'm hoping that maybe in 2030, in somewhere in France, hopefully we can get more gold medals and hopefully we can get more competitors to compete for Canada. On to the MLB spring training. The Toronto Blue Jays, they actually play their first game this Sunday at 11:05 a.m. against the Boston Red Sox. Now, from what I'm seeing about this spring training, it looks like teams are going up against the minor affiliates from what I'm seeing so far. Now, I'm not seeing the Blue Jays. They haven't gone up against their minor affiliates yet, I have seen. But their next game, they play against the Mets this coming Monday. Now, checking in on the Blue Jays, well, Anthony Santar, he's kind of hurt. And I don't know if you remember, Bo Bichette, he left, but and Kevin Gausman, who I remember we got from, say, the Orioles, because he was an Oriole and then he became a free agent, he might retire after this season, which I just wish that we would have won that World Series. If we won that World Series, all of Canada would be happy and we'd be celebrating because it'd be Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s first World Series. Now, the one thing that I am happy that we still have, I'm hoping that Trey Savage, who did phenomenal in the World Series, I'm hoping that he can like win a lot more games than us. Although the only player that I'm kind of worried about is Brandon Little. And I don't know if you remember this, but Brandon Little was was almost the reasons why we lost lost in that 19 inning game. Now, mind you, yes, everybody was really tired and all that, but man, every single time when he was on the pitch, I was worried. And no, wait, no. It's not the Dodgers, no, it was the Mariners game. No, not the Mariners. It was the Yankees game. I remember we were winning that game and then we blew it when he was pitching, so then we had to take him out of the game. And then who else am I worried about? I'm not really worried about Jeff Hoffman, although Phillies fans, when he was a Philly, a lot of Phillies fans complained about him because, well, supposedly he would choke, but when he came over to Toronto, as soon as he struck out that Seattle Mariners player, we were so happy. Oh, and I'm also excited for Kazuma Okamoto, the Japanese player that we signed. Interesting story about him, how we signed him. I believe his family, or his daughter to be more exact, asked him where he should sign, and the daughter picked the Blue Jays, and that's where he signed. And yeah, that's really interesting coming in from the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm expecting this team to make it back to the World Series. No, yeah, I could see them making it back to the World Series. And Shane Bieber, he turned out to be pretty good for the Blue Jays. I remember we got him in the trade deadline, but Jose Berrios, Brandon Fisher. Now, the one guy that I'm sad to see go is Bissett. Bissett, he was one of our, I liked him a lot because he seemed so reliable. But now that Chris Bissett, he's retired, we still have some reliable people, but it's like, nothing as reliable as that. Oh yeah, Max Scherzer, he retired. Man, I wish that we won him a game. We got him a World Series. That would have been fun. Just imagine him, just his final pitch, and then he gets that and then he's in the dugout. And as soon as the Blue Jays, they got that home run, if they had that home run, World Series champions, all of Canada would have celebrated. And Max Scherzer, he would have gone out like as a champion. And that's all I have for right now. Catch me next time on the next episode of It's Interesting, the World of Sports. Next time I'll talk about the Olympic closing ceremony and how the Canadian men's team did, if they made it to the gold medal final or not, and if Canada wins more gold medals. So, see you soon, and goodbye. Welcome back to It's Interesting, the World of Travel. Please welcome back to the show, Renata Arrioja. Renata?
Hi, Jordy. Happy to be here.
Well, yeah, no, once again, thank you for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Travel. So today's topic is we're going to talk about Gaunt. And so far, well, you've been to Gaunt, yes?
Yes, I've been to Gaunt 4 different times.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting. So you want to start with the questions or?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So my first question is, can you tell me a little bit of the history of Gaunt?
Sure. So Gand is the oldest and historically significant city in Belgium. It is located in the region of Flanders, and they speak Flemish. They do not speak French. So if you were to go there, please speak to them in English. They prefer you speak in English and not French. They know how to speak it, but they just prefer English. So they speak Flemish. So Gand is in a really good location because it's in between. It's in between Bruges and Brussels. So it only takes 30 minutes by train from Gand to Bruges, and then from Brussels to Gand, also 30 minutes as well. So it's in a great location. The history is a little interesting. So the first like history that is known is that it starts around 600 CE, and then there was two people that put two monasteries, and with that monastery, they helped create the trade, and that with those monasteries' help, that trade became so important that it led Gand to becoming one of the most wealthiest cities. um, there also was it was also during the medieval times, with the help of the monastery, that Gaunt became the largest and the richest city because of the trade of wool and cloth trade. So that played again a very big part. And after that, it was overtaken, just like in Lille, it was very similarly overtaken by the Burgundy family. And then the Netherlands overtook Gaunt again, and then it became a Belgian city as if Belgium separated from the Netherlands. So Gaunt's history is very interesting. It's similar to Lille, but Lille doesn't have the trade port that Gaunt has, and that what made them very important during the medieval years.
All right, so talk about history, almost similar to Lille, but instead of being in France, they're just being in Belgium.
Yep.
All right, all right, all right. Do you like my Matthew McConaughey impression?
I think it's a very good journey.
Thank you very much. All right, so my second question is, what is one thing about daily life in Gaunt?
One thing I think is very cool is that you're like one of the reasons I love Gaunt is you're walking around and there's canals everywhere. So it's very cool to feel like you're always constantly near water. Then the second part I love is that you're walking around and we randomly find a castle there. And I think that's the coolest thing. Gaunt has two main castles, the Gravenhurst, which I have gone in and done a whole tour for. It's very cool, and it's a very big castle. And the Gard de Duvisson. I don't know if I said that correctly because that's in Flemish. I unfortunately don't know Flemish, but I think it's very cool that you'll just be walking around and all of a sudden you have a castle. So they also luckily are in Belgium too. So then they still have the chocolate elements, they still have the French fries, they still have the waffles. So that makes it very interesting. And in Gaunt, they have both of the waffles that are like in the Belgians have two waffles. It's the Brussels waffles and then the Liège waffles. So you get both of those also in Gaunt.
All right, so okay, more on the waffles. So they both have both from Brussels and the other place. What was the other place called again?
Liège.
Liège. And what's the difference between them?
So the Brussels one is a square, and then the Liège one is more like a circle, and the Liège one has sugar in the flour, so it's a lot sweeter. And Brussels doesn't have that. Brussels is just a circle. It's just a square.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. My other question is, what's a local tradition or festival in Gaunt that outsiders rarely know about but absolutely should go to? Why should they go to it? And what is your experience from visiting that attraction or attractions?
I think from what I was able to see, is the Christmas market. Very much, it's like there's three little Christmas markets in Gaunt, as in many cities in Europe. It's not just one big Christmas market. There's three. Um, they have the same, almost as similar to Lille, but Lille's isn't as it isn't like it's similar to Lille's, but it's not the exact same. There's not that many people from England that go to the one in Gaunt. But Gaunt has a lot more French influence. They still have raclettes. They still have waffles, which are so yummy. They also have the aspect of like the Netherlands. So they have the little Dutch pancakes. So I would say that's very cool, and it's very cool to see the city lit up. They have Ferris wheels, the river canals, the boats already all have Christmas lights. And then you can see the castle even has Christmas lights. So that's a very cool thing to go to, and the food's so amazing. So it's definitely worth it.
All right, so the Christmas market is your favorite to go to in Gant, or when you went to Gant, to be more exact.
Yes.
All right, all right, all right. Thank you very much for answering that question. My other question is, which local spot in Gant, whether that be a cafe, street, or viewpoint, felt like you were a local there, and why did it matter to you, or why did it feel like you were a local?
Well, unfortunately, I wish I felt like a local, but I don't speak Flemish. So I didn't feel super much of a local. Wish I did. But the place I really liked, and I would recommend anyone to go to get the good Flemish experience, is this place that's called Friets Alteri. I think that's how you say that. Again, I'm so sorry. I do not speak Flemish. So sorry to my Flemish people. It's basically like a fries shop. So there's the owner is a chef that has a Michelin star restaurant, but he's originally from Belgium. So he has his restaurant, but then he made this frites place to focus on his roots. And so that place is really cool because it's almost like in Canada, it's like our poutineery. It's almost like the French version of poutineery, but there they have this poutine. That's not. It's not a poutine. This dish that I tried that's called the Flemish beef stew. So it's kind of like it's like it's almost I don't know how to describe it. It's like spicy beef in like fry, but and like it's kind of in gravy, but there's no cheese curds. And that's a very typical Flemish dish. And so that's kind of his. He likes to put very typically Flemish dishes in fries. And so I like that place. And that's a place I'd recommend because it's like a local Belgian chef and they add local Belgian experiences. So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So, well,
and it's right next to the castle. You can see the castle while you eat.
all right, so that is your favorite place. Is there like a specific dish that you like from that place?
I tried the Flemish beef stew. I like that one. It was very good. It was very interesting because I didn't know much about Flemish food. So it was just interesting to see what their addition what they think is beef stew. So and it's like I have poutine here in Canada, but I've never had like their version of it, so I wanted to see what it was like.
All right, yeah, no, fair enough. And one more question.
Mhm.
Ooh, this one's a bit of an interesting one.
Mhm.
What was one place in Gaunt that you would want to see again?
I really liked really just going to Gaunt again, I would happily go. I like
Specifically.
I like the castle. The castle is very interesting because I'm not here in Canada. We don't have many castles, so to me, a castle is a very fascinating thing to see, and especially just like on the streets, you're randomly walking and you see a castle that's like 700 years old. Kind of cool. Um, so I like that. I also just like walking by the river, like the canal. There's so just walking through the canal, you can see so many things. The restaurants are always busy. You can always see, especially since it's a university. It's a very big university town. They have they have 6 universities. And so that is very interesting to see, like everybody out drinking and just like walking near the canal. And then I think that's one of my two favorite things is just everybody walking and enjoying, seeing the canal and then the castles.
So walking and seeing the canals of Gaunt were your favorite things that you did when you went to Gaunt.
Yes. Yes. Well, because I'm not used to having canals here, so it's very nice to see that.
Yeah, fair enough. I kind of wish that, like, I don't think does Canada have a place that have canals or
Well, we have rivers.
we have rivers, but that's different.
Yeah, it's a little different, but I don't think we have technically canals. I don't know.
All right. Well, that's great. That's really great. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Travel.
Thank you. Happy to help you.
Yeah, nope. So I will see you next week or not. Who knows?
Who knows?
All right. Goodbye.
Okay. Bye.
Welcome back to It's Interesting, the World of Money. Please welcome back to the show, Ricardo Estrada. Ricardo.
Jordy, thank you very much for inviting me again. I really like it.
Yeah, no, thank you. The pleasure. Yeah, no, the pleasure is mine. So, are you ready to go on to these questions?
I am, yes.
Okay, that's great. My first question is, What is the FHSA?
The FHSA is something that the government of Canada implemented back in 2023, and it's called a first-time home buyers account. It is, as the name implies, an account where you can save and invest money tax-free in order for you to buy your first house. So it is kind of an incentive the government gave to every Canadian permanent resident, at least permanent resident in Canada, to buy your first home. Due to, of course, affordability issues, that is sort of like an incentive that is aimed to help young Canadians or Canadians that have not been able to buy a house to actually acquire one. And this basically helps you. I think it's the best of both worlds because you have the tax-free saving component of the TFSA, but it also has the deduction contribution of the RSP. That means if you save money into this account, that would reduce your income for that year that you saved, or even for the next one. That's a little bit more complicated, but then it reduces your income and therefore it reduces your taxes. So it's got the tax-free savings component of a TFSA and has the deduction contribution or the income reduction limit or reduction that you have on an RRSP, which is it's great. It's I think it's the best of both worlds. But you do have to use it. You do have to save it, and there's certain conditions for someone to actually open an account, start depositing to this account, and then make the withdrawals for this account.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So overall, the FHSA, it's there for the first-time home buyers, correct?
Correct. And that's the FHA. I don't know why they put the acronym is FHA. It's First Time Home Buyers Savings Account.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you very much for answering that wonderful question. My second question is, who can qualify for this?
All right. To qualify for this, you have to be older than 18 years old, except for the few provinces where the age is like BC. You're not an adult until you're 19.
You have to be legal.
But you have to be an adult. So 18 or 19 depends on the province. You have to be younger than 71.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to be to help you save for your first house. If you're 71, didn't buy a house, I guess you're not going to. And you have to be a resident of Canada. So this is really, I guess it's good because you do not have to be a citizen of Canada, but just a permanent resident. So I guess it's also kind of like an incentive for people that are here that have become permanent residents, even without becoming full citizens, to actually start saving this and acquire a first home. So it is there's some limits. I guess we can actually talk about limits that you can contribute and all that stuff. But basically, that's it. And that you have not acquired a house in the past to live in. So between 18 and 71, permanent resident of Canada, and you've never acquired a house in Canada, of course. And a house that, I mean, there's some, you can actually go around it. If you did acquire you do have a house, but you don't live in the house, you have it for rental purposes. It's an investment. You can still save and acquire a house because this is supposed to be an investment for you, or savings for you to acquire a house that you are going to live in. And that's basically also one of the requirements for withdrawals, but I think we can talk about it later.
Yeah, no, so like you said, it has to be between 18 and 71. You need to have a permit in Canada, or like living permit in Canada. And
be a permanent resident.
Permanent resident.
Yeah, permanent resident of Canada.
Permanent residents, and they have to be the first time that, well, not necessarily the first time, but like the first time that they bought their house, and or like you said, that, what was the thing that you said with the?
Well, it's the way around is like you could have acquired a house in the past, but not lived in it.
Acquiring but not living in it. Yes.
Yeah, but I guess it's the theory. It's just a way to get around it. The theory is like this is going to be your first house that you purchase in Canada.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Thank you for answering that question. And then, what are the benefits of this FHSA?
Well, I think I've talked a little bit about this before, but I'm also going to tell you, I guess, what is the limit, because that's kind of like a
What is
benefit
the
too.
limit?
So you have a limit of $8,000 per year,
8,000, okay.
but then you have a lifetime limit. You cannot, save and invest $8,000 forever until you turn 71.
Mhm.
You have a limit of $40,000. You cannot save. So it's basically, I don't know, 5 years. 8 times 5 is, I guess, 40.
40, yeah.
And you get, so as long as you don't go over 40, once you reach the $40,000, that's the limit. So once we've said that, the advantage is that, first of all, if you contribute $8,000 this year, those $8,000 will reduce your income by $8,000. So it's just like an RSP. You have the contribution that reduces your income and therefore reduces your taxes, which is great. Now, the second is most important benefit is that everything that you invest in that account, and then everything that you earn out of that account, be it capital gains when you buy and sell shares for a profit, dividends from those shares or stocks that you have, or interest in you invest in a bond or a GIC, all that income that you generate within this FHSA, it's tax-free.
Yes.
So you're not going to get taxed on the end of the end. So that's a huge incentive to do it. So like I said, best of both worlds. It reduces your income, the contribution like your RSP, and it grows tax-free like a TFSA. So great benefits.
Yeah, no, so basically just don't spend your money over $40,000.
Well, you can't.
You can,
The account is tapped at $40,000 the lifetime contribution, and every year it's tapped at $8,000.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And then
Now this is a new thing. I just started in 2023.
mhm.
So, it's great, I guess, for young people like you, for students to start saving in this, because
Oh, definitely.
$40,000 could help you with the down payment of a condo here in Calgary.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, look, I got to start saving on my money so that I can afford my first house. So,
That's right.
mhm. And then how or when do you make withdrawals?
Well, the withdrawals are made as you need the money, usually used for down payment. You have certain conditions that you need to do. First of all, this is your first down, being a first-time home buyer. Second, you need to have a written agreement, a purchase and sale agreement of a house that you intend to occupy this house. That's basically it. You go to the bank, say, I'm going to use let's say you put in $40,000, and then, over 10 years, it's grown to $80,000. So I'm going to use the $80,000 for a down payment of a house in Calgary. And that's great. Then you actually use that money, but you have to get, like, again, this is your first house, you have a purchase and sale agreement in place, and you intend to live in that house. Now, one of the things here for withdrawals, because I guess it would come into this question, what happens if you don't buy a house?
What happens if
Right?
you don't? Yeah, that's the question I have.
I guess if you don't buy a house, then you can actually use that money and transfer it into your RRSP or your RIF. And that basically increases your RSP amount. Now, you won't get the income deduction again because you've already got the deduction here, but you can actually move it into your RSP, right?
Mhm.
So you'll have additional room into your RSP for this. So it's great if you somehow decide that you don't want to buy a house. That money has grown tax-free, and you can actually use that money to put into your RSP, and therefore, use it when you retire. I guess that you decide to retire, then start withdrawing from the RSP.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you need three major things to do your first withdrawal, and
Right.
Wait, I'm trying to remember did you answer the when? Or is it after?
Yeah, we'll make the withdrawals when you buy a house.
When you
And
buy
get
the house.
the qualified withdrawals that you have. When you buy a house, well, you have a purchase and sale agreement. Now, I think the more important thing is too, or important thing here is that how long can you actually keep this? You can only keep it 15 years after you open it. So let's say you're 20 years old
Oh, wow.
now and you open that account and you start contributing to that account and you max it out. If you do not buy a house by the time you're 35, you have to move that money into your RSP, right?
Yeah.
So you do have a time limit to acquire a house. Also, if you start like at 60 or at 61 and then you turn 71, then you have to move that money if you didn't buy a house. Or the account closes once you start making the withdrawals. It's a one-time thing only. Once you use it, you're not going to be able to use it again in your lifetime.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, yeah. Overall, yeah. And then what if you don't buy a house?
Well, if you don't buy a house, you transfer that money. Again, you can transfer it to RSP or your RIF. And
Transfer
then
the
you
money
use
to
it
the-
for your retirement. So you don't lose that money and you don't lose the benefit, the tax-free advantage, and you don't lose the benefit of your taxable deductibility. So it's a good thing. You don't really use the benefits. You just transfer it to RSP. So if you don't buy a house, you decide not to buy a house. I would still recommend it to have it. I think we talked about TFSA before.
Yes.
I think the first thing when
The
you turn
TFSA
18,
500
you're
from what I
able to do a TFSA, then this one, or start your RSP. Just start saving. It all comes down to what we started the first time we talked about this, Jordan.
Mhm.
Leave below your means. Don't spend everything that you earn and start saving. Tax-free, TFSA, FSA, SA, FHSA, RSP, whatever you can.
Mhm. So overall, if you don't buy a house, then put those like savings and like where you want to buy a house, put them into somewhere that's also important that could be crucial for your life.
Correct.
Correct? Yes, no. Great. That's great. Thank you very much for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Money.
Jordy, my pleasure. It's been fun.
Okay, and I will maybe see you next week, maybe not. Who knows?
Well, let me know. I'll be happy to do it.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Goodbye.
All right. Bye.
Welcome back to It's Interesting, the World of Statistics. Please welcome back to the show, Alberto Nettel. Alberto.
Hello, Jordi. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. And how are you? No, how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling, I'm happy to be here, obviously. Otherwise, I
no.
wouldn't be here. And, I'm also visiting Canada right now. So
Yes, I've
absolutely
heard.
happy and elated.
Yes, I've heard that you're visiting Canada right now, which is like, I'm surprised that you're visiting because isn't Canada cold?
It is, but you know what? The warmth of the family kind of compensates for it. And there wouldn't be another time to really come and stay with the family and enjoy the time. So, one thing for another.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So, are you ready to hop into these questions?
Let's do it.
All right. So, the first question is, what's the difference between possibility and probability?
Okay, well, let's start first with just the usual colloquial semantic kind of dictionary idea. A lot of people confuse them. Let's start with that, actually. A lot of people
Yes.
confuse, the possibility, probability, same thing. And then, whoops.
What happened?
Sorry, it said that it kicked me out. I'm back. No? Yes?
I can see you still.
Jordi?
I can see you. Hello.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
It just I got a little sign here that said hold on, signal is out. So you can edit that then.
Yeah.
So I was saying.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people confuse them. They think that they're one and the same. And not necessarily so. Let's start from the very common lay colloquial person. Again, the people confuse them a lot. And in general, I mean, we can think of it just about the meaning of the semantics of the words themselves. before we go into any big mathematical, definitions. Think of possibility just as, choice in a way, right? When you think of what could happen tomorrow regarding weather, a possibility, something that we know that sometimes exists, is rain or sun or snow. The idea of probability is really about measuring, assigning a measure of chance, a measure of likelihood of it actually happening, right? So you can think of all the choices of things that could happen are possibilities. And then the probability is telling you, well, this may happen with 30% chance, etc. Right? In some writings and some research, people say, well, we could actually think that things that have probability 0 are impossible. So if we thought of possibility as a measure too, then those would also have to have possibility 0. In more mathematical or statistical terms, when you think of a sample space, again, the choices of things you could have. So in a room full of students, that's your sample, right? So what's the chance of picking one person? So those are all the possibilities. And let's say that the question is, who will want to come to dinner with me? Well, although all those are possibilities, some of them may say, no way, Jose, I'm not going for dinner with that guy, right? So the probability that they will actually come to dinner with me may be 0. So probability is a measure of the likelihood that the possibilities, that the items, that the things may happen, right? So don't necessarily confuse them.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So like you said, the possibility is that it could happen, while the probability is that it's more likely to happen.
Not necessarily more likely. Probability is a measure. You can still have a probability of 0, but it is giving you a quantification of how likely, right? So
Yes.
a possibility is that I could find pens of color red. It's a possibility, they exist, but maybe in the box that I have, there are none. So the probability that I will pull one out is 0.
Yeah, no, so that makes sense. Thank you very much for answering that question. My other question is, what's the difference between normal and ordinary?
Okay. So here's one of the things that I always have fun with this because, again, from the very colloquial dictionary term, normal doesn't necessarily have to be a statistical term, right?
Yes.
But if we think of, let's say normal with a capital N, kind of regarding the normal distribution, it is different from ordinary. I think ordinary can also depend a lot on how people see things. We are used to, it is ordinary for us to see snow, right? It's nothing extraordinary. It's nothing that we are not used to. So ordinary things can be things that you are used to. Whereas when we talk about things that are normal, again, with a capital N, are things that usually the normal distribution is a bell shape that tells us that most things happen in the middle, little things happen on the outside. When you were in high school, I'm pretty sure when the quizzes came back and everybody was doing poorly, everybody thought, oh, I hope the prof uses the curve, etc. Right? So that's the idea of the curve, is that the distribution, let's say, of grades is such that most things happen in the center, and then there's not that many that go off to the sides, right? So you could actually have things that are extraordinary because in their distribution of how they happen, they're on the tails of that normal distribution. People usually think of normal things as things that you observe more frequently, more expected, right? So that would be the thing between, normal and ordinary.
Yeah, no, so like you said, so normal is like, well, not normal. Ordinary is what we're used to. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're absolutely right, because our ordinary may be extraordinary for someone else.
And then, so that's ordinary. And then our normal is, well, what similar to what we expect.
Exactly what we expect regarding the distribution, how often it may happen,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you very much for answering my question. And then my other question is, what's the difference between significant and important?
Oh, here we could go for ages, but I'll try to
Yeah.
keep it short. So
Yes, thank you.
let's start first with, again, in plain colloquial English, when people don't really care or know about statistics, people use the word significant for something that seems to them that is something very special, something that changes things or creates things that are super important, right?
Mhm.
And important, something can be important for you, but not the most important, or may not be something that is completely distinguishable. When we come into statistics, the word significant, and it's kind of abused in a sense, but when we talk about a result being significant, it's because when you're doing statistics, you're comparing what you observe to an assumption that you have. And if under that assumption things seem to be really, really, really unlikely, such that it will bring you to say, I don't believe the assumption, then people say this was a significant result. So, so things were significantly different from the statistical point of view, saying I could actually discern the difference, right? It was a significant difference. Now, a significant statistical difference may exist. So I may actually see that in one population, the percentage of, I don't know, diabetes
Mhm.
is 20%, and in another is 20.0001. I have such a big data set that I can really see that they are significantly different. Then we come to the point, is that important? Is a 0.0001% difference really important, let's say, regarding, do I need to have more beds, more medicines, more doctors? So that's the part where it may still be statistically significant. That is, I can actually tell that these two things are discernible apart, versus is it, and many people, and I like to add the pragmatically, practically, or clinically important, right? Is it going to change the way I distribute money, medicines, treatment?
Yeah, no, so that's really interesting. Although I do have like a follow-up question for that. What should people be like more oh, I'm trying to think of the word. What should people be more like into? Should they be more into what the important statistic is or what the significant statistic is? Both.
If a result is, well, the significance of a result can actually change depending on your cutoff or saying something is significant. So again, as I was saying, you compare what you see to what you assume, and you can move your goalpost if you want to think about it, saying, well, if this doesn't seem to happen that often, I don't believe the assumption. And that's where you can say, if I don't see it happening at least 5% of the time or 10%. So depending on that post, things can become or not significant, right? Because it's not that things are, is that we deem them significant to us based on our code, right? So that's something that's also very important. Significance is not something inherent to the phenomenon, it's something within. So it is very, people should check both. Why? Because the statistical significance is telling you, again, that you were able to discern things. Once you see that difference, you need to see what is the impact it has to see if it is important or not. On the other hand, if you cannot discern if let's say two treatments differ in how many people are saved because they're not statistically significant, then you cannot put your money, you cannot bet on these things being different. So then, even if you say, well, clinically, they seem, separate enough.
Yes.
If I cannot really put my money on them being separate, right? Then you're saying, well, I'm just looking at what I observed on my sample. And remember, your sample is just a thing that you're using to project. So if you cannot really project to completely separate things, you cannot just go with the clinical part, right? So that's why both are important.
Both
Never
are
see them in isolation.
Yes, no, that makes sense. That's great. Thank you very much for joining me on today's episode of It's Interesting, the World of Statistics.
My pleasure, and sorry for all the wham with the
It's okay.
with the
it's
signal.
okay. Well, I'll see you next week or not. Maybe.
Yes. Who knows? What's the probability you will see me?
I'd say like 99.9%.
Perfect. I like
All
that.
right. See you.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right.